far as hip hop today and what's going on today, we don't fit in. We the real definition of shit. Just shit. No, I'm just saying, like, you know, as far as metaphorically speaking, you know what I mean? We don't mean the new definition of shit, like, yeah, we got the new shit. I'm talking about we hip hop from the hip.
When you hear the Black-Eyed Peas, you instantly think of those massive anthems that defined an entire era. For years, they were the symbol of spreading unity, love, and optimism. But that's only half the story. Behind the smiles, the futuristic beats, and the peace and love slogans was a world the fans never saw, a world of backroom deals, creative betrayal, and broken friendships.
I'm telling you, the ego played a lot of games with me. Because in this industry, you build up an ego.
What started as a group built on integrity and real hip-hop turned into a global brand machine that chewed everything standing in its way.
We don't care about what hip-hop's gonna think. We're about us. We're about what we feel is gonna, you know, make us feel comfortable, make us feel good. Dancing makes us feel good. You know, we're not trying to be hardcore guys that are gonna walk out around stage and be like, I don't dance no more. I'm a gangster. We're the type of people that are gonna feel free-spirited and do what they feel.
Back in the early 90s, before the Grammys, before the flashing lights and endorsement deals, there were just two kids, William Adams and Alan Pineda Lindo, better known as will.i.am and Apple. Both came from humble beginnings. will.i.am grew up in East LA, raised by a single mom, while Alan was born in the Philippines, adopted by an American soldier, and brought to the States in search of a better life. They met as teenagers and bonded over their shared obsession with hip-hop culture. For them, hip-hop wasn't about image, it was about truth, about speaking for people who didn't have a voice. Together, they formed a breakdance crew called Tribal Nation, and that evolved into their first music group, Atban Clan. Their early music caught the attention of Eazy-E. Signing to his label was a dream come true.
The way we got started as Black-Eyed Peas, me and App used to be in this group called Atban Clan, signed to Ruthless Records.
Suddenly, these kids from the streets were in the same orbit as one of the biggest figures in hip-hop. In 1992, they even appeared on Eazy's EP, Merry Xmas, and by 1994, their debut album Grassroots was ready to drop. But just as their dreams were taking shape, Eazy-E's sudden demise in 1995 shut the door on their big break. The album was shelved. Ruthless Records shifted direction. The project died, and with it, Atban Clan's first chance at success.
When Eazy passed away with AIDS, App and I started Black-Eyed Peas, and we had this little family of like musicians, artists, and poets in different groups, and Tab was in that family.
Most artists would have quit there, but will.i.am and Apple weren't built like that. They refused to let go of their vision. They renamed themselves the Black-Eyed Peas, inspired by the idea of food for the soul. In 1995, they recruited Taboo, a fiery performer from East LA's underground club scene, and singer Kim Hill, who brought a soulful, jazzy touch that completed their sound. Their debut album, Behind the Front, 1998, wasn't made for radio. It was made for the culture. This was a group that believed in the purity of art. They weren't chasing fame, they were chasing truth. But Hollywood doesn't reward truth for long.
Welcome to the show. Yo, let me get everybody's name.
will.i.am. What's up, y'all? This is Taboo Nawasha.
This Apple Diab.
Kim Hill, featured vocalist.
As their names started to circulate in the late 90s, the record label executives began to notice something. The Black-Eyed Peas had potential, but not enough sex appeal. Singer Kim Hill was pressured to play a role she never signed up for. Executives wanted her to lean into a more commercial look. They told her to grind on will.i.am in a bathing suit, something completely at odds with who she was and what the group stood for. Kim refused. She stood her ground, refusing to become a prop in her own group, and that decision came with consequences. She walked away, ending an era for the original Black-Eyed Peas.
You want me
to grind on will.i.am in a bathing suit. That was being asked of me, never by the guys. That was happening from an executive level. How far out on this plank do you want me to go? The tug of war was about my sexuality and how much of that I was willing to literally strip down.
The soulful, message-driven group that fought to stay authentic had just lost its voice of conscience. But the industry doesn't mourn rebels. It replaces them. And the woman brought in to fill that space wasn't just a new singer. She was the spark that would ignite a full-blown transformation.
You know, Fergie has brought a lot of rock and roll. She brought a lot of strength, a lot of inspiration. She brings a lot of laughter, great voice, great to look at for all the fellas. You know, she's a great dancer.
Aww.
As you can see, she's always dressed to the T, looking beautiful.
Can we move to the next? Because this is making
Fergie,
me embarrassed.
I'm just feeding her ego.
Thank you.
What does...
By 2002, the group was trying to rebuild its momentum. They had been critically respected but commercially invisible until Stacey Ann Ferguson, better known as Fergie, walked through the door. At first, she was just supposed to record one hook for the song Shut Up. But when she sang, everything changed. Fergie's voice was edgy, soulful, and emotional. Her energy clicked instantly with the group's vibe, and suddenly, record executives saw what they'd been missing: a marketable female star. But Fergie's story wasn't some fairy tale comeback. Before joining the group, she'd been through a nightmare of her own. A former teen star with Wild Orchid, Fergie's career had derailed under the pressure of the industry. When her label blocked her third album release, she went into substance addiction.
You were addicted to crystal meth.
Yes.
Isn't that horrible? I hear that's horrible. It
It does a lot of things. It
destroys your neurotransmitters. Yeah.
It's not good. Yeah, it does. It can make you crazy.
The addiction nearly destroyed her. She dropped to 90 pounds, lied to friends about having bulimia, and suffered terrifying hallucinations, including one episode where she was convinced the FBI was chasing her through a church.
I started going out and taking ecstasy. You know, from ecstasy it went to crystal meth and at first
you need a higher high?
with any drugs it's, you know, everything is great at the beginning and then slowly your life starts to spiral down.
Only after realizing that no one was actually following her, she decided to turn her life around. Music became her salvation, and joining the Black-Eyed Peas gave her purpose again. But the group that once vowed to never sell out was now being saved by a woman who had already lost everything to the system they once fought against.
We didn't change the sound. It ain't like, it's still Black-Eyed Peas.
I think on this album we have a lot of growth, life experiences, changes, and that's what the subject matters in.
By 2003, everything the Black-Eyed Peas once stood for was about to flip upside down. That year, they released Elefunk, the album that didn't just change their career, it changed their identity. This was the moment the underground hip-hop group became a pop supernova. Songs like Where's the Love, Shut Up, and Let's Get It Started weren't just hits, they were cultural earthquakes.
Yeah, let's get it started. Let's get it started in here.
The album sold millions, went platinum in multiple countries, and turned the Peas into global icons overnight. Suddenly, they weren't playing underground clubs anymore. They were headlining arenas, showing up on talk shows, and performing for presidents. But here's the twist. Elefunk was a double-edged sword. On the surface, it felt like the perfect evolution, music with meaning wrapped in radio-friendly hooks. Where's the Love sounded deep, introspective, socially conscious, the kind of song that reminded people of what hip-hop was supposed to be. But for their old fans, it wasn't that simple. The message might have been positive, but the sound was engineered for mass consumption.
People got me questioning, where is the love?
To longtime hip-hop heads, the Black-Eyed Peas had committed the cardinal sin. They had sold out their real identity. Critics called their transformation the worst kind of betrayal. The same group that once said they would never chase fame had suddenly become the face of commercial music. Hip-hop purists, who once praised their lyrical authenticity, now saw them as corporate puppets. The Black-Eyed Peas weren't representing the streets anymore. They were representing brands. But will.i.am didn't seem bothered. When asked about the backlash, he said the group wasn't selling out, they were bringing people together. That's how he justified it. The beats got cleaner, the lyrics got simpler, and the visuals got flashier. The Peas were no longer a hip-hop act, they were a business model.
Our music was made to sell hardware, to the point that if you sold outside of that circle, you were deemed a sellout. A sellout doesn't mean you change your morals, you sold out of the circle of things you were supposed to sell.
Behind the scenes, things were just as different. The music was making millions, but the art was dying. And soon, the machine they built started eating itself alive.
There's kids out there that have no way out of their situation. But maybe they need to be surrounded by people that made their dreams come true.
By 2005, the group doubled down with their next album, Monkey Business. If Elephunk cracked the door open to mainstream success, Monkey Business kicked it wide open and threw a party inside. Every track was built for mass appeal, loud, flashy, and impossible to escape. Don't funk with my heart, my humps, pump it. They dominated radio waves like a cultural virus. But with that success came a big shift. The lyrics were getting emptier. Critics tore into the album, calling it random, soulless, and a glossy mess of sound bites. But the group didn't care. They were selling out arenas and topping charts globally. This was the money machine era.
Raise your voices as one to welcome a group that knows exactly where the love is. Philly, the Black-Eyed Peas!
The Peas had mastered the formula, the perfect blend of electro, pop, and club-ready hooks that guaranteed radio play and commercial appeal. And Fergie, now the face of the band, became a superstar in her own right. Her solo project, The Duchess, exploded, producing hits like Fergalicious and Big Girls Don't Cry. Meanwhile, the Peas followed up with the END and The Beginning, albums that solidified their status as pop titans. Boom Boom Pow and I Got a Feeling weren't just songs, they were global hits. At one point, they had multiple tracks in the Billboard Top 10 at the same time. The group was printing money, but success like that doesn't come free. Behind the smiles and flashy music videos, the group was cracking under pressure, touring nonstop, promoting endlessly, and trying to stay relevant in an industry that eats its stars alive. It wore them down. will.i.am became controlling in the studio, reportedly overseeing everything from lyrics to production to final mixes. That left Taboo and Apple in the background, reduced to supporting roles in a band they helped to build.
We are next level right now. Futuristic visual shit. We got that boom boom pow right here on Dip Dive. The place to be. You getting it first. Me to you.
By the early 2000s, the cracks weren't just personal, they were legal. First came the copyright controversies. In 2013, will.i.am released a song called Let's Go featuring Chris Brown. But fans quickly noticed something. The track sounded suspiciously identical to Rebound by producers Artie and Matt Zoe, and they were right. When confronted on copyright infringement, will.i.am didn't even deny these allegations. He admitted to using the beat before getting sample clearance. Then came two more lawsuits over their popular tracks I Got a Feeling and Boom Boom Pow. A songwriter named Brian Pringle sued them, claiming the first song was taken from his 1998 track Take a Dive. For the Boom Boom Pow song, Phoenix Phenom and her producer Manny Moore stated that it wasn't an original creation either, but a near replica of their song Boom Dynamite. Both cases dragged through court, and while the band ultimately won, the damage was done. The whispers turned into a fact that will.i.am was not a creative genius, but a copy-and-paste producer who made fortunes by stealing other people's work. And the chaos didn't stop at the music. Their longtime business manager, Sean Larkin, filed for bankruptcy after years of poor financial management. He was accused of mishandling the band's income, failing to file their taxes properly, and putting their assets at risk, according to the group's own lawyer.
I know what that looks like.
Right.
That looks like, oh man, like, what's this doing, dog?
Right.
After nearly a decade of non-stop hits, tours, and media appearances, the band announced a break. Fergie, the group's powerhouse, was exhausted. Years of touring, performing, and juggling business ventures had taken a toll. She wasn't just a singer anymore, she was a brand. Between launching her own shoe line, her wine label, and her perfume, Fergie was stretched thin. Add motherhood as well, and the pressure became unbearable. While the public narrative painted her hiatus as a personal choice, people close to the situation told a different story. Insiders claimed the split was not mutual. will.i.am had quietly shifted the group's direction, and Fergie simply didn't fit the new design. The Black-Eyed Peas were evolving into something more digitally manufactured, more globally marketable, and less dependent on one big name. Fergie had become inconvenient to the new formula. Still, will.i.am stayed diplomatic. In interviews, he insisted there was no bad blood, calling her exit a beautiful decision. He told reporters, "She's focusing on being a great mom. That's a hard job, and that's what she really wants to do." But many fans noticed how those words were chosen. It was the classic Hollywood soft exit.
Is this sort of the last time we're seeing you for a while?
No, it's like we always have 2 cycles of records, and then we take a break, and 2 cycles of records and take a break. And when we take breaks, you know, we work on side projects or get a little personal stuff in order to then come back and, you know, make beautiful music. We think beautiful music.
Not long after, the Peas introduced J. Ray Soul, a new vocalist and protege under will.i.am's guidance. Young, talented, and marketable, she had a globalized, multicultural image built for the streaming age. And though she earned praise for her voice, many people saw her addition as confirmation that the group had officially entered its brand maintenance phase. It wasn't about legacy or artistry anymore. It was about keeping the name alive. Meanwhile, the rest of the group was fighting their own private battles. Taboo faced a stage 2 testicular cancer diagnosis that nearly cost him his life. The chemotherapy left him in agony, and at one point, he admitted he almost gave up. But in true survivor fashion, he pulled through.
I did chemotherapy for 12 weeks, 5 days a week, 6 hours a day, and it was like war, torture, and a nightmare all in one.
Apple, on the other hand, took a different path. Having been born legally blind and raised in poverty in the Philippines, he turned his focus toward charity work. Through his foundation, he funded surgeries for blind children and invested in education initiatives across his home country. In a strange way, they all moved into different worlds. Fergie became a businesswoman and mother. Taboo became an advocate and survivor. Apple became a humanitarian. And will.i.am, he became the CEO of everything. The balance was gone. And then, one of the most humiliating moments in pop history sealed their downfall. In 2018, Fergie was asked to sing the national anthem at the NBA All-Star Game. It should have been a triumphant return to the spotlight. However, it turned into a cultural train wreck. Her rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner started normally, but then she shifted gears. She turned it into a slow, sultry jazz. The result? A confusing, off-key performance that left everyone struggling not to laugh. Cameras caught players grinning, biting their lips, even chuckling mid-performance. Within hours, it went viral for all the wrong reasons. Fans started calling it the worst national anthem ever performed. Fergie later apologized, saying she had tried to do something special and put her artistic spin on it, but the damage was irreversible. After years of chasing fame, Fergie's humiliation became the metaphor for the entire group.
I don't want to put any disrespect on the national anthem. That I wanted to make clear. That's why I put out the statement. And then after that was, you know, a breath that people knew that I wasn't trying to disrespect anybody. Then I wanted to joke. And the funny thing is, I felt like I was too...
After that, the Black-Eyed Peas tried one last attempt to prove they could still matter. With Fergie officially gone, they went back to their roots in 2018, releasing Masters of the Sun Volume 1. The album had serious themes, political undertones, even a feature from Nas. It was a genuine return to hip-hop form. Critics actually respected it. But there was one problem. Nobody cared. The world had moved on. The Peas audience wasn't looking for conscious rap. They wanted nostalgia, or they wanted new stars. The album barely made noise commercially. So, once again, will.i.am shifted gears. 2 years later came Translation, a complete 180. This time, they leaned into the global pop market, collaborating with Latin megastars like Shakira, J Balvin, and Ozuna. The song Ritmo, featured in Bad Boys for Life, was a massive streaming hit. It worked commercially, but artistically, it was a pure algorithm music. And then came Elevation. Fans expected another big evolution. Instead, they got what sounded like recycled leftovers from translation. A few catchy tracks, but nothing new. The once unstoppable hit machine had become predictable, mechanical, and irrelevant. They were still making music, but the world had stopped listening. When you look at the rise and fall of the Black-Eyed Peas, it's hard not to see the irony. What started as a message of unity, love, and truth eventually turned into a textbook case of what happens when art and ambition collide. They began as a voice for the people, but somewhere along the way, they became a product for the industry. They lost their credibility, their balance, and eventually, each other. The original message of hope and unity was buried under sponsorship deals, lawsuits, and pop formulas. They wanted to change the world with their music, but in the end, the world changed them. And that is the ugly, dark truth about the Black-Eyed Peas.